call the meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Everyone should have a packet of information. You should have an agenda in there. Minutes from the July meeting, and then a copy of updated procedures. I didn't look through it, but that's all that you sent us, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so we'll take roll call.
Please. Hanley? Here. Woodridge?
Here.
Biabiani?
Yep.
McNally?
Here.
Baker?
Here.
Okay. All right, so the next order of business is the review of the July meeting minutes. Commission, have you had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
And is there any discussion? I know it's been a while.
Well, no, I printed them out a couple of days ago.
Not hearing any discussion, can I, anyone want to entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. There's a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded to approve the minutes as presented. We call for a vote?
Will do. Baker?
Aye.
McNally?
Aye.
Woodridge?
Aye.
Biabiani?
Aye.
Hanley?
Yep. Aye.
Actually, you would need to abstain,
Yeah.
because that was before you were on the.
I abstain.
Tim, what did it say in the minutes? Were you were you filling in for someone, like George?
In July.
Yes, you were.
Was I filling in for George?
Yeah, because.
Did we have one meeting after? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
There was
We
5
did.
in
Yeah,
attendance.
So I was.
Yeah,
So he was acting in the role of a regular zoning member.
right, because he actually made a motion to approve.
Yeah,
I mean, I can eye the minutes.
Yeah.
that's
but I
what we
think I
need.
think we had quorum
We
as well.
did.
Yeah.
We have quorum and approval. Okay, the minutes have been approved. Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are communications. Do you want to speak to?
I do. So, this is just, to recap that the, zoning application CZ 25025-01 did go in front of the trustees. They did vote on it. It was accepted. Those were in the meeting minutes. I just wanted to say that we had that updated, that it was all taken care of. It's finalized and done deal. That's pretty much all I have on that unless there's any questions about it.
Any questions? Yeah, it went pretty smoothly, so.
They did, yeah.
So number 2, we want to welcome Paul Hanley as our newest member of the zoning commission. I know he got the rules, and actually I was going to bring this up. In the rules of procedure, it does talk about administering an oath, which we have never done since the beginning of the zoning commission. So just, hey. Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, the oath is, do you swear to, I mean, I can get you one for next time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we've never,
I can look it up online. It's basically the same oath that any appointed or elected officer
I do.
performs. Yeah.
I do.
yeah,
Yeah, basically,
none of us have taken.
do you swear to uphold the
Yeah.
laws of Ohio, London Township zoning resolution, the Constitution of the United States of America?
Yes.
That's good enough.
Okay,
Short and sweet.
very good. Okay, number 3, the International Property Maintenance Code, IPMC for short. Our zoning resolution does reference the 2009 version. We need to look at the most recent International Property Maintenance Code and possibly revise this resolution number from 2013 from limited home rule number 05 and include in our zoning resolution. We need to have a copy of the newest one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so, we gotta talk about this.
Yeah.
So, the 2009 International Property Maintenance Code was what we adopted through home rule, when we basically took Franklin County's zoning rules, adopted them, and that's how we created our own. So, it's been brought up, hey, as things changed, I am not a member of that board. You have to pay to get into that, to get updates. So Adam was part of that, and he went over the 2009 Property Maintenance Code. And that was offered through Westerville, and they administered that. We regularly meet with Westerville. He's the one that does the testing, provides us the information. And I had this discussion with him. I said, hey, is there a lot of changes that have been made through the property maintenance code that we would need to adopt? Because it's been brought up, hey, we have an outdated property maintenance code. And the basics for what we have in our zoning resolution are still upheld. They're still the same. Nothing's changed really on that. But there has been modifications made, and he provided me with an update for them, but I can't distribute that because of copyright. So I need to pay for those in order to say, hey, here's the changes, we can administer that. I didn't have the authorization to do that, so that's kind of where we're at. But I just wanted to bring it up in the meeting to say, hey, this is something we probably should look at for reference when we're looking at our zoning resolution. You know, you look at it and go, 2009, you know, it's 2025, guy, you know, what are you doing? So just to bring it more up to date, to say, here's the changes. And then with that, I can put out, once I pay for that, I can give you the bullet points to say, here's what's changed. Again, under general guidelines for general maintenance, none of that's really changed. There's a few language changes or just wordage. Instead of like all structures, it just says structures. But there was things that were updated was like chapter 7, dealing with fire rules and regulations. Then there was also, I don't remember what section it was off the top of my head, basically ADA compliant information. So I just think it would be good to bring us up to speed with that. So there's not going to really be a whole lot of discussion about it, but I wanted to just bring it to the board's attention that this is something that we would try to include in the zoning resolution to say, make it more up to date, and here's what it is. But once I pay for that, I'll be sure to share, here's just some changes that are going to go on, so that you're aware.
Okay, we look
Fair
forward to
enough.
that, yeah.
So you'll bring that back as old business potentially next month or something like that?
Right,
Okay.
Hopefully I'll have something by then. It might be a little bit longer out, but I just want to let you know that this is what's going on behind the scenes.
And they're actually two different codes. So your zoning resolution, you have to follow 519, Ohio Revised Code 519 and the zoning laws. Even though your zoning code references the International Property Maintenance Code, that can be changed. That is typically changed by a board of trustees. And then that enforcement process, you don't follow the enforcement process you follow for zoning. It's something completely different. So even though there's a link there, they're two completely different mechanisms.
Gotcha.
Okay, Matt, excuse me, which one's in effect right now?
They both are. So your zoning resolution's in effect,
Yeah.
and then you do, right now, we have the link between the zoning resolution and the International Property Maintenance Code is from 2009. So right now, we are working under the 2009 version. And I think all we're really doing is updating the reference link in terms of now we're going to be enforcing the 2025 version of the International Property Maintenance Code. that adoption has to be done by the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, what happens if it's challenged right now?
You're fine. There's nothing that requires you to update it,
Okay.
other than it's just probably good business.
Yeah.
You know, particularly when you're dealing with fire code issues and things like that, as things evolve. So it's probably a good time to update it. But, you know, probably the new administration, will amend the limited home rule resolution that adopted the 2009, and they'll amend the resolution and adopt it to 2025. But there's nothing wrong with enforcing what you have now, and you're still able to do that. It's just time to
Yeah.
dot the I and cross the T, so to speak.
So over the summer, there was a controversy with like natural landscapes.
Yep.
Are like landscapes involved, or is the International Property Maintenance Code touch on
No,
landscapes?
no.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with, that's not in the International Property Maintenance Code at all. Nope.
Thank you.
High grass.
High grass
weeds,
is,
yes,
but
that kind of stuff, yes, but
general,
natural landscape.
what I would call just kind of general nuisance,
Yeah.
right? And people always ask me, what's a nuisance? And, I mean, most people are familiar with the old Supreme Court definition of pornography. You know it when you see it, right? And that's what the courts have held a nuisance is. It's up to each local government to determine what constitutes a nuisance, right? So it may be 6 inches in Dublin, it may be 9 inches in Prairie Township, it may be a foot in, you know, Norwich Township or wherever. So it's up to each body to determine what that is. So the International Property Maintenance Code is not that specific. It's just kind of broad strokes. Like, you know, if you have siding and it comes down, you probably need to put it back up. You know, that type of thing. But it won't address the natural grass thing at all.
Okay.
Does it govern like, you know, somebody is accumulating junk in their
It
front
can-
yard?
It can. So, not only can you, so you're gonna actually have 3 mechanisms. You're gonna have an International Property Maintenance Code that will address that. You could probably get them under zoning for, unlawful outdoor storage. And then the third one is there's a series of statutes that every township has, whether they have zoning or not, or whether they have an International Property Maintenance Code. And that one is, the statute is, there's 3 of them, 50586, and that's for what we call nuisance structures. 50587 is for what we call high grass, junk and debris, which I think is what you're describing. And then the third one is 505.871, and that's for junk motor vehicles. And you don't go through court at all. So basically, a complaint comes in front of the trustees, and the trustees make a determination that it's a nuisance structure, a nuisance property because of all the junk and debris or the high grass, or it's a junk motor vehicle. Junk motor vehicle is 3 model years or older, apparently inoperable, and then if it's got to contain some type of missing tires, flat tires, or missing engine. But once they check that box for whatever category they're in, they're required by law to send the property owner a notice telling them to fix the structure, get the cars off, or cut the grass. And then if they don't do it, they all have varying timeframes in terms of how they have to comply. But if they don't, the trustees have the ability to either have staff, like if, you know, road department or whatever, go on and cut the grass. They can hire somebody to do it. Most townships will hire a towing company to come in and tow it. And then those costs associated with abating that nuisance get sent down to the county auditor and placed upon the property's tax duplicate. So next time they pay the taxes, there'll be a reimbursement from the county auditor to the township. Now, if they're not paying their taxes, you know, ultimately, they may end up in a tax foreclosure through the treasurer's office, but those are the three kind of areas that, townships deal with, kind of what I would call nuisance properties. So,
I'd like to add, so if you listen to some of our trustee meeting minutes, we always have those nuisances on there on our website as well. That's what a lot of those are. It's the high grass, or it's the junk, the debris, that kind of stuff, that we're addressing through code enforcement and zoning.
and those things are usually, I mean, you guys try to get people to comply before you bring it to the trustees, but, you know, some people do, some people don't, but.
And with rental properties, you just don't notify the renter, you have to notify the owner of the property, because that's who's getting the tax assessment.
Yep.
And Eric, wasn't there a link on the website to the 2009 International Property Code?
Yes, there should be.
Okay. So if you want to read through, you might want to do that. It gives you a better idea of how that will read.
My only comment or ask for the update to the ITMC would be, maybe instead of a link that's housed on ITMC's page with blank spaces for grass height and that kind of thing, which is how it exists now, it just links to the overall page. We actually have that framework included in the document.
Fill in the blanks.
Whatever's
Yeah.
there, just so it is kind of
PDF.
officially documented on the London Township.
Good idea. Yep.
I have a question. We pay for the copyright. How long does that last? Is that just for a year? And moving forward, do we update this every 2 years or 3 years, or do we wait 10 years?
So the International Property Maintenance Code, my understanding is it updates every 3 years. So
Okay.
it was 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. So 24 was the last one that was updated. City of Westerville is currently working under the 2021.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, we'll move on to number 4 under communications. I assume you have something on that too.
So I do. So this is short-term rentals. So this has been brought up a couple times, and I'll put into context how it was brought up. So we received a complaint about parking across the sidewalk. That's an issue that typically the police will come out and say, hey, you can't block the sidewalk. So it added, well, there's a truck in the driveway, and it's an Airbnb, and they have an asphalt tank on the back of that truck. So you can't have trailers, anything like that in front of the home to do that. So you were trying to address it to kind of find out what's going on. Hey, you can't have this trailer here. Hey, you can't block the sidewalk. And finding out it was a rental property. So it was an actual Airbnb. So what's our rules on that? We don't have anything in our zoning resolution to say about Airbnb. So did a little bit of research on it to find out what's the deal with short-term rentals. And basically, in a nutshell, it's you have a rental property, which is long-term. That's separate from a short-term rental. And they're referred to as transient. So if you have a property and they rent it for less than 31 days, it falls under that Airbnb, that short-term rental, a transient rental, that it falls under the Ohio Building Code. So is it mentioned in our zoning resolution? No. However, how do you enforce that? You enforce it through the Ohio Building Code. So what I'm proposing and what I'd just like to do and have include this group in the discussions, basically have a working group, and we will go over this to say, what do we envision this to look at? If we do nothing, it falls under the Ohio Building Code. So there is something that can be done. It's just not in our zoning resolution. I think it would be cleaner for us to say, we reference the Ohio Building Code, here's our rules for this. And we can modify those. You can't go less, but you can always go more. So, for example, I mentioned the 30 days. 31 days, it's a longer-term rental. 30 days, it falls into that, basically, commercial property, Ohio Building Code. So we could say, hey, if it's less than 3 months, you would need to get a change of occupancy for that. That way we could just regulate it more, because the problem you're having is, if there's all these violations, there's really no way to be able to address them. By the time you get it, they've moved on, and then you're back to square one again. So it's just a way to clean it up, to say, here's how we can enforce this, this is our rules. You come in, you have an Airbnb, this is how you're renting it, come to us, you need to get a change of occupancy. We can permit that, make sure it's gonna be there, and it has to meet certain criteria that's in the Ohio Building Code, and then kind of go from there.
Are we able to tax short-term rentals?
No.
How do you know it's an Airbnb? How do you know if it's short-term rental?
Probably through the apps. Through the apps like VRBO, Airbnb app, people advertising.
You look at that all the time?
I don't.
No, I don't. So that needs to be a discussion we're having. So how do we want to address it? As a complaint base? Because basically that's how we operate now. Complaint base, then we move forward and take some action. We don't go through, look at all the ads, hey, there's 5 Airbnbs in Blendon Township, we're going to go do it. Because I'm sure that other communities have 10, 20, 50, however many there are. I don't know that we're gonna police it that way, but if we can say, here it is, here's the rules, here's how we're gonna know, then we can say, hey, if you're gonna have an Airbnb, you need to come to us and say, here, you need to get a permit to do that.
Well, but who's gonna do that? Would you come up to the township and say, oh, by the way, I got an Airbnb, da-de-da?
So,
Well, no, where I'm going, and I mean no disrespect, but where I'm going is, how can you enforce it if you don't know what it is? Okay, my house could be, folks next door to me could have an Airbnb, I wouldn't even know it. Folks
You would know.
down anywhere,
Yeah, you would know.
You would know.
well, I would, yeah,
Yeah.
but your general,
But
No.
that's how the issue came up.
Right.
It was complaint driven.
so,
There's one right near Ridgewood Park, actually.
in that case, yeah. well.
So really, the question we have is whether we want to continue to be reactionary versus proactive in terms of the approach to the short-term rentals.
We
And I
can
would
ha-
not, I would not,
Criteria.
and I would not characterize them as Airbnb, because there are other short-term rentals that occur out there that are probably not attached to VRBO or Airbnb or any of those things.
right.
I think
So,
if the threshold is 31 days, and again, it's, to the point here, what are you gonna do once it's like a dog chases his tail and finally catches his tail, then what the hell do next? Are we going to, proactively try to enforce something? And I think that's a challenge.
it is.
Yeah.
It is, so, that's just a little bit of background about what we can do, but that's why I wanna have a working group to say, hey, do we wanna say 3 months? Do we wanna say 6 months? Do we wanna say, because it's just, to be able to say, hey, we have long-term rentals, they sign contracts yearly or 5 years or whatever they sign, there's a lot of rental properties. Those are separate from this.
Yeah.
And then it's defined under Ohio Building Code, this is what we can do on the short term. And that is.
I think Columbus, I think it was the city of Columbus that really pulled all of the people who were, taking their properties and turning them into short-term rentals, Airbnb or VRBO. Because I think that they started monitoring that somehow, shape or another.
They did.
Maybe you could.
Yeah, they have a licensing requirement and everything like that, but we don't have the same authority as a township. But the problem you run into is if you make it any longer than 30 days, a lot of times, you may have a year lease, and then it automatically goes month to month, right? So I think the standard cutoff is usually around 30, 31 days that matches the building code. But
Because you could have a person in an apartment who goes through a 12-month period and goes month to month. What do you have there?
Well, yeah, I think if you have 3 months listed as your code, I think it automatically transforms technically into a short-term rental.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to show my ignorance, if I may.
Yeah.
Does this only apply to single-family residencies?
Well, for Blendon Township, probably yes. But I wanna stress, I'm just starting to look at these rules and zoning, so it's, the key is transient and the time period. So you could have, a multifamily dwelling that they would try to convert into like a short-term rental. So, an example, we don't have it here, but extended stays, that kind of stuff. We don't have that here, but I get what you're asking. That's something we need to look at.
Yep.
So we could research what the Ohio Building Code says and say, hey, would this fall into it? We can't go less than what it tells us to do, but we could go more than what it tells us to do.
Eric, to your question of like working group or where you want to take this, I think it's a good idea to establish that working group. For like the questions that are being asked here, those are things that the working group could deal with. I've stayed in several Airbnbs since, stayed in one in California this past summer that was in smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood, and Barcelona a few years ago, and so kind of understand why, like, especially for folks who are just living in one of our neighborhoods, and now all of a sudden there's an Airbnb and they're dealing with the police 3 weekends a month, but then not again for another few months, that, right? But this could be an issue or not an issue.
Right. So that's why I brought it up. I just wanted to include the group, and I think that all of us could be in on that decision, and then we could present that. It would probably be something under a home rule that they would implement that and include it. We'll have to research a little bit more, but that's just kind of the basis on it, and that's what brought it up.
I'd probably make it part of your zoning resolution.
Okay.
Just,
I'm looking for it. There's something related to this, to an excise tax for some of these types of things too, that we do have, and I'm trying to find it.
I think it goes back to that distinction as to whether or not it's a transient vendor or a true hotel.
Yeah, it does have some verbiage
Yeah.
for transient. And
Yeah.
I just don't know, like, there's supposed to be a tax that's associated
But
with that as well.
But my recollection is, and it's been a minute, but my recollection is that I think only the cities have the ability to tax them, and that there's no specific, even though we're limited home rule, we can't create new taxes. That's one of the limits of our home rule. But yeah, I know what you're saying, and it's been a minute since I've looked at it, but I think the distinction is between whether it's more of like a hotel versus a true short-term rental.
What I'll do is I'll scan what I have, just kind of references some of the site codes under the Ohio building, and I'll email that out to everyone, just so you can see what I'm kind of referencing about transient, the days, that kind of stuff, so you have a little more understanding of, this is kind of where I'm thinking and where we're kind of going from it. And again, we have a couple complaints, specifically that one about the truck and the trailer and that kind of stuff, and it was, hey, can you address it? Yep, we can, but they were long gone by then, so.
Okay.
And we have unstaffed, we contract that out for a commercial building. Eric Shaver's his name, so he would be the one that would do the change occupancy, be in control of that. He previously worked for Westerville and helped them write their procedure, so he's very knowledgeable about that. And then again, us as a group, do we just Are we, when it's brought to our attention, addressing it, just like we do a lot of other things, or do we wanna go out and publicize it and say, here's the deal, if you have this, you have to come to us, you have to get permits, you have to do these things. And we can put all that on our website. We know that, you know, if you're getting a new driveway, or you're building a patio, or you're building a structure, it's all in our, do I need a permit or not? And it's right in there, zoning, you need a zoning permit, you need a building permit through Franklin County. If it's commercial, we handle it all. Residential, we do the zoning, Franklin County does the building portion of it. That's all on our website under zoning. So we could do a link to say, here's your responsibilities. It would just tie into the commercial.
Anything else on that? Anybody? Okay, let's move on into old business. The first item is election of the vice chairperson, which was tabled from our July meeting. Anybody want to nominate someone?
So I have that under new business as well, that the election of a new vice chair. But I just wanted the old business that we need to address was that election of the vice chair. We can handle that right now if you want to and incorporate that into the next section or whatever you'd like to do.
We can wait. I'm assuming it'll be kind of quick. Well, think about it if you want to be vice chair. You have a few minutes.
I'm the new kid, don't look at me.
Why?
So Paul says no. The next item is the updated rules of procedure. We did get an email copy of that, and also there is one in your folder.
The changes that were included in that was, we changed the meeting time, which is under number 3, to 6:30. And then also, remember it said, what I said?
It had first Monday or something.
Yeah, it had that language in there, a Monday and a
Second Monday.
Thursday or something like that, 2 meetings in a month. And that was updated in there as well.
I do have a couple of things I wanted to, they're pretty minor, really.
Yeah.
But under section 4, and it would also, yeah, I guess it's mainly under section 4. There are references to, facsimile number, okay? And then later on, it talks about telegram or cablegram. First of all, I know the township does not have a fax machine in this building, in the administrative building. There is one in the police department, because I found out that that's the only place. They do not have like a desktop app for facsimile. So that seems kind of unrealistic to me to put that in here. It seems kind of antiquated. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't know the first thing about sending a cablegram or a telegram these days. I know Western Union used to do it when I was a kid.
They still have those?
I don't know.
What about a smoke signal? Is that okay?
Yeah, I would put that in there. We could do that. But I mean, realistically, we don't really communicate that way. But is it necessary? Because it seems to me it's pretty extreme if we have to go to those lengths to reach out to, for the purposes listed in that section. It just kind of seems a little dated to me.
Although in the first paragraph of section 4, it does say, and if available, a facsimile number
Right.
and email address.
Well, who has a fax number here?
Don't anymore.
I don't think any of us have a fax number, you know? I mean, just because it's the current board, I don't think going forward, somebody's gonna suddenly have one. It's just not the usual course
You
of
could
business.
strike out all references to facsimiles, telegrams, or cablegrams throughout the document.
That's what I think
and
we
move-
should do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
No worries about that, yeah.
We need to go back in front of the board again to make those revisions.
No,
or
so
revise it?
these are the zoning commission's rules, so you're the ones that have to vote to adopt these rules. So you're free to make those these changes.
Okay.
So all through section 4, under special meetings, and then there are references on page 3, under section 8, and then it's sub number D, letter D. There's references to facsimile.
Is this a Word document?
Mm-hmm.
So you ought to be able to search it and just kill them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, under section 10, participation of the alternate member, I see in, I don't know, about halfway down, the sentence, if a regular member is unable to attend a meeting, such member should notify the township administrator. And what was removed was "or code official," and then in the next, I guess, a couple of sentences, maybe 2 sentences back, it says it refers to the administrator or designee. So I'm wondering if we should add "or designee" in the first reference. Because I guess
Here's what I would say to put, if you don't mind, I would put the zoning inspector. Because it was written when Brian was the administrator and the zoning inspector.
Right.
So
I
that's
just
the reason it
find
said
it
township
odd.
administrator.
Yeah, I found it odd.
Yeah.
And he was both.
Yeah, he was both.
Yeah.
Yep, so
So-
I would make that the zoning inspector, and I agree, add and/or
Because he
designate.
has an assistant.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yep.
Well, what is his title? Maybe we,
Well, we're required by law to have a zoning inspector.
okay.
So he better be, he better be a zoning inspector, and then I always tell clients, you can call him whatever else you want to call him after that.
Okay, so replace township administrator or add
I
township
would take
administrator
out-
and zoning
I
inspector?
would take out administrator.
Okay.
Just, I mean, it's really your department.
Mhm.
You're the supervisor of the department. And I would just put zoning inspector and/or designee.
Mhm. Okay. And then I noticed under section 3, under Article 2, the election of officers. A significant clarification there from the version I was looking at. Under election of officers, because it used to be this long. So I was just saying, and then I noticed that it was just clarified under the section 4 for the term of office, because there used to be references there for April. And that might have been because of when we formed the zoning commission, I don't know,
Yeah, so most people will do it
in January.
in January.
That's when we traditionally have
Yeah.
done it. But I just wanted to call that to your attention. And then the administering the oath under section 8. I thought, oh, that's novel.
I'll get you the oath,
Yeah, we've just never done it.
I can tell you what the BZA oath is when they swear people in, but
Okay.
I can't remember what the elected official one is.
Okay. That was all I wanted to call to people's attention. I just compared an old version to the new one.
Okay.
Everything else remained the same.
I'll get revisions made and then get it sent out to review and then pass it to.
Okay, thank you, Eric. No, number 3 was meeting time was changed from 7 to 3:30. We had kind of all agreed to that. 6:30. Okay, that brings us to new business. Paul has spoken. He does not want to be vice chair. So that leaves you 3.
I cannot do it.
I'm not going to do it, but I nominate Tony. If people would like to do it.
Would you accept the nomination?
Sure, I'll accept the nomination.
Okay,
Thank you, Tony.
I think it's a great idea.
all right, there's a motion on the floor. And it's
Second.
been seconded now, thank you.
Keep me on. Motion on the floor,
It's been seconded.
got it? All
We'll
right,
call for a vote.
call for a vote. We're going over. Hanley,
Yes.
Candiani,
Yes.
Cordray,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Baker.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Politician.
Okay. Congratulations,
Yeah, thank
Tony. Thank
Or
you
condolences,
Thank
whichever.
you.
Better be
for
here.
agreeing. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other business before the board? Anything else? Hearing none, I call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll do that.
Okay. Anybody second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourning at
7:11.
7:11.